Tracy Ray. Engaged.
Reenact the engagement.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be back in Texas. Haven't been here since actually November, Thanksgiving. I flew into Dallas-Fort Worth for Thanksgiving.
Hate that airport. Hate that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So you're a flying man?
Well, my arms get a little tired though. Tracy and I are going to talk about something that's real special to us today. Normally I give presentations about the technology and the techniques for actually collecting scientific evidence. We've been working on a joint project for the last year and a half where we've been studying the effects of fibromyalgia on psychics and mediums. Interestingly, fibromyalgia affects 2% of the general population. It affects 85% of the medium population. We believe that it's an energy-based affliction. We think the current medical means of treating it are wrong. They're throwing painkillers at it, and the problem's not necessarily with a physiological pain. It's what I believe caused by energy, the wrong kind of energy. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to talk about the first thing that we experimented with. Tracy had an incident where she was doing a reading for someone, and she got a hold of some bad energy doing it. So I want you to talk about your first experience that we worked on.
Well, the first time this happened, I did a 2-hour reading, and it wasn't a bad reading. It wasn't, nothing bad came through. But apparently there was something that messed with my biofield, my energy. It was not compatible. I woke up, and that day I felt very drained, and it's just like a lot of weight on me. It's like I couldn't even get out of bed. I called David and I told him what happened, and he said, "Is there a electric socket near you, an outlet?"
We know where this is going, right?
And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, put your finger on the screw because it's a ground, okay? And it'll pull the energy out." So I did, and I could feel the energy, something coming out of my fingertips. I felt like this. I'll explain what my body felt like. I felt like that I had just put my hands on an electric fence. And when you take it off, that numb feeling you get after you touch one? That's the way my whole body felt, okay? So when I touched the outlet, I did it for 10 minutes on my right and 10 minutes on my left. And then 20 minutes later, I was able to get up. And it worked. And I felt so much better. It was weird.
So what we've done is we've developed a non-medical therapy for treating this, where we utilize this particular one is adjusted. You lift it up and adjust. We use what is called a static wrist guard. It's used by electronic technicians to ground out static electricity so they don't destroy electrical components. They're extraordinarily inexpensive. You can get them at Radio Shack for $3 or $4. You can get them online for like $1.99. You can take this if you're a medium and you suffer from fibromyalgia. And actually, if you just suffer from fibromyalgia, we want to get feedback from people who aren't a medium who's trying it. You take it and you look it up, you take the alligator clip and you attach it to the mounting screw on a wall outlet that's ground in your house. And we recommend 15 to 20 minutes on each wrist. And so far we've tested it out on about 20 different psychics and mediums in our test group on Facebook, and they've all reported beneficial effects from it. So that's like the first thing we dealt with. Now there's about 20 symptoms of fibromyalgia probably, okay? Yeah. So we're kind of tackling symptoms one at a time. We're starting to look at a more generalized approach to treating the pain of the whole body that occurs. One of the things we're working with now is called a Mobius sandwich coil. Strange name. It's essentially a Mobius strip, which you're probably not familiar with a Mobius strip. It's a mathematical construct in which there's a half twist. Actually, it's an inward twist to make the coil. And essentially, it is an infinite conductive path because it continues to go on the back and the front of the coil. Now it's called a sandwich coil because between the aluminum or the copper, we have them made out of aluminum and copper,
Sorry, I got a headache.
we have a dielectric material. So it becomes a sandwich. And the meat, the dielectric material, is just like an acetate or a plastic. We're using the plastic that you use to laminate IDs with. What this does, and NASA developed these over 20 years ago, they create a null point and they null out electromagnetic fields. Now, the interesting thing is, there are 18 trigger points associated with fibromyalgia. They're also used in acupuncture. By placing one of these coils over the trigger point, it effectively shuts down the transmission of the neurons. You know, the neural receptors and the neural transmitters are shut down. So the pain signal doesn't get transmitted to the brain. So you don't feel the pain. So essentially it's a non-invasive painkiller. Has no effect on the body physiologically, it doesn't dope you up, doesn't take your edge off. But 15 to 20
But it
minutes.
feels it long enough to where you're comfortable.
Right.
You know, when you have those bad days, anyone suffering with fibromyalgia knows you have bad days.
And, you know, this, if you don't want to take medicine and you know you have to go somewhere, these work. I mean, I can't believe what they did for me, you know.
They're extraordinarily cheap to make.
You can just make them.
Strips of copper or aluminum. We actually have on my website, Spirit Lab website, www.spinvestigations.org, we have a section called Fibromyalgia Research in the research section, and we have a diagram that tells you exactly how to build these yourself. So instead of spending tons of money on having therapies, you can try this stuff for free, and if it helps, that's great. And if it does, we want to hear back from you.
Right. Now, whenever we first tried this, I had a migraine, and David put the copper on, and my headache was gone in 5 minutes. Later, when he went home, about 2 weeks later, I had another headache. So I tried the copper, it didn't work. Then I tried the aluminum, and it worked. I don't know why, I don't know if it has to do with his energy putting it on me, but I can't use the copper. But he can use the copper on me, and it works great. So you kind of have to just play around with it. Whoever touches it, I think has a lot to do with it also.
And the other things, these are all passive treatments. In other words, we're taking something that does nothing really, but just bees what it is. That's I love the term,
No
bees.
cure, it just,
It's a relief, it's a therapy. What we're going to do is we're going to use a proactive treatment methodology very soon, where we're going to take coils and literally place coils on all the trigger points and then energize those coils with specific frequencies of EMF. The idea being is that we're going to attempt to erase the neuroreceptors and reset them. And what we hope that will do is buy more time between treatments. In other words, if we can go in and wipe the receptors clean, it's like starting over again. And it will take, a couple of weeks for the sensitivity to build back up again on those nerve receptors. So that's the next step that we're going. And believe it or not, when I started writing about this a year ago, a company called Medtronics has come out with an implantable device now in the medical community that'll cost you about $250,000. It's highly invasive. They plant it at the base of your spine, and it triggers your nervous system in a very generalized way with an EMF current. So somebody was probably reading what I was doing and turned around and designed a medical device around it. What we're doing is going to be non-invasive, and it's going to be something that's applied to the surface, and it's not something that you would have embedded in your body over and over again, and it would be relatively inexpensive to get these treatments once we get them refined. So the idea is that we're going to look for the right frequency, and everybody's probably going to have a different frequency unique to themselves. So like no two treatments are going to be exactly alike. We're going to have to go in and do a sweep on a person, find their resonant frequency, and then trigger their trigger points
I'm
with that
sure
specific
everybody will
treatment.
have a different frequency.
Sure, just like everybody has minute differences in their makeup due to their DNA, I'm sure we're going to have different mutations in that. Is there any questions that you guys have? We don't have a lot of time to talk, so I wanted to kind of open this up a little more if anyone has any questions about it. try to address those questions.
Any question?
Any questions? Yes?
I'm sorry, I missed some of the, because I was over there, but just some of the bits and pieces that I caught. How is this?
Go ahead. No, it's okay.
How is this related to like when you try to do chakras?
Yeah.
That's kind of,
Well, see, as a scientist, I know nothing about Reiki or any of those metaphysical treatments. What I'm trying to do is actually utilize science. I treat the body like it's a big electrical system. And in that vein, I'm troubleshooting an electrical system. And what's happening is people that suffer from fibromyalgia, their neurotransmitters and receptors become overused and highly sensitive.
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
For example, they can feel their clothes when they first put them on like we can, but after about 5 minutes, we don't feel our clothes anymore. They're just on, so we don't notice them. They notice their clothes all day
There's
long.
days where I can't wear just a t-shirt and
Sometimes nothing at all. I mean, it's like, you know, I don't even, my skin burns. Just, my hugs hurt, very seriously.
So,
Been
so,
here, done that, I understand.
so what we're trying to do is to troubleshoot the body's electrical system. And you do it in a non-invasive manner. And we're doing it in a non-medical manner too. I mean, I put disclaimers up all over the website that, you know, this has not been approved by the FDA, it's not been approved by the AMA. We're experimenting with, you know, a guinea pig. In an effort to find things that people can do, like over the counter, for very little money to get relief from the pain without being addicted to pain medication.
I told David, whenever I met him, a scientist is going to help.
Someone with fibromyalgia before a doctor. The doctor don't have a clue, don't want to know about it. They'll just tell you this. And
They
some
treat the
doctors don't
symptoms.
even believe it's really a disease. So
Yeah, medicine treats symptoms. They don't treat the cause. They throw drugs at the symptoms. We're looking at trying to understand what causes it and try to maybe alleviate it. So, it's just a different way of looking at it. You know, I'm not a doctor. You know, I did stay at a Holiday Inn, you know, Express. I'm not a doctor, but I am a scientist. Yes, back in the back. Questions?
What? Excuse me?
I don't know why it would, because what we're doing is we're addressing the actual neural receptors and receivers and transmitters, and everybody has those. So whether you have diabetes or not, it may affect your chemical makeup, but it shouldn't affect the electronic makeup of that nerve synapse where it's firing.
You know, like, I'm a diabetic, you know, I suffer from the neuropathy.
Okay, I do too. I've had, I'm fused from my neck to my tailbone. I've got rods. So I also use the coils for my back. I've actually used it for leg pain. I've used it for several things, and it actually does relieve the pain. I mean, you have to kind of make, you know, when I use them on my back, I just stick them in I wear jogging pants, and they'll just stay. You know, I use a headband to keep them on my head. So, but they do work.
Yeah, how pain works is a signal gets sent through the nervous system, and a lot of people think a nerve runs the full length of their body, and it doesn't. A nerve runs to a cluster point, and each of these cluster points, there are many nerve endings coming to an air gap, and then another nerve ending across the gap. So what happens is a chemical reaction takes place there, and it fires across the gap, just like a spark plug does in a car. Well, what we're doing is we're treating that gap so that the spark doesn't fire. So literally the signal travels to a point and then doesn't pass the point. So if it doesn't get to your brain, you don't feel the pain. And that's how it works.
How many here have fibromyalgia? 1, 2, 3. Fibromyalgia. Okay. Lyrica? Okay. Yeah. Do y'all have psychic abilities? There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. 80%.
I have a granddaughter that has it so bad.
How old is she?
She's 11.
That's when mine started. Was 11.
She gets so sick, she can't even go to school.
Yes, yeah. And she can't be diagnosed, can she?
Well, they got her diagnosed. They just said that when a normal person feels pain, what would be a cramp to a regular person is like a major pain to her.
Exactly, exactly. Mine started in my legs. That's when mine started. So.
And this treatment is kind of a general treatment that can be used for any kind of chronic pain. So we just happen to be studying fibromyalgia with it because Tracy has it. And it's great to have a living test subject that, you know, is looking for any kind of relief from it. So we can experiment as things take place, so it really works out well. But these techniques would work on any kind of chronic pain situation. She has an injury. She was talking about her back. We've treated the pain from her. She has chronic pain from an injury and from an operation that she's had. We've treated that with success as well. So it's the kind of thing that it's a general kind of treatment, but it is applicable to a variety of ailments as long as the common denominator is pain. It's actually a pain treatment. Any other questions from anybody? Sure.
Yeah. Hey, Tracy, does it get worse for you depending on where you are, like the people, the energy you're surrounded by?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Like a Walmart trip?
Yeah. I try and stay home. I really do. I don't go in large groups.
Or like a Grateful Dead concert. Can you imagine that?
That's healing.
Yeah. I went to the fair the other day, so it's probably why. The day before yesterday, it's probably why I have a severe migraine right now. But yeah.
The idea behind it is Tracy could give 5 readings a day and never have a problem. She could give 1 reading and be in bed for 3 days. And it isn't because she's dealing with something evil or bad. It's because she's dealing with energy that's 180 degrees out of phase with her own. And when she comes into contact with it, it nulls out her own energy.
But we can't tell.
Right.
You know, we don't know. I will never know if your energy, whoever comes through,
Right.
their energy.
She doesn't know until
How
after the
mine.
fact, you know, after it's
You
over
don't
with.
know.
So the idea is to reduce the recovery time. Like if she gets a hold of energy that's out of phase with her own, instead of her being out of play for 2 or 3 days and in bed, the idea is to get her back up within a couple of hours, back to normal again. And that's the whole goal of what we're trying to do. And the idea is many, many mediums suffer from this. It's a disease that has been associated with mental illness over the years, and there's a lot of stigma associated with it because of that. I don't believe it has anything to do with mental illness. I think it has everything to do with energy and the effect of energy on the human body. The fact that it may cause other people to have mental problems, again, I think that's an energy issue.
I think
The mental problems is because the doctors don't want to do anything about it. We stress over it because we can't get no cure. We can't get medicine, you know, to help, and nobody can answer questions. So
It's depressing.
it's very depressing. It's hard when you wake up, or if you go to bed, you can't sleep because the covers actually hurt you, and you're tossing and you're turning, and it's horrible. But nobody ever wants to talk about it. I've gone to 7 doctors.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with that, and the work continues. I mean, we're just starting now to make some discoveries and to make some refinements in what we're doing, but the work that we're doing seems to be very promising. And again, it's extraordinarily inexpensive for people that they can do it on their own. And what we're trying to do is to outline everything on the website and explain to people how they can do it themselves. We do hope to one day offer it at Spirit Lab to people who want to come in off the street and do it for a modest fee, where we'll actually set up a table and have somebody lie on it and treat them like that to see how it works. So, but that's in the future. That's not for right now. Any other questions? Well, we're going to zip out a little bit early and let them catch up some time, because we're notorious for always being behind at paranormal conventions. So, thank you very much. Nice meeting you.